What is going on YouTube? This is Acid Root. So this would be part 23 of the Super Mario World playthrough. So in this particular one, this is where we picked up off from before. Basically the concept about it is just trying to figure out the puzzle of this particular ghost house here. I want to say, like I was saying, this might have been like the last one in this particular game as far as this pitch can happen. Enough of a royal pain to kind of get, but it's just mainly the concept of just, obviously avoiding. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if the game just bugged out here. I mean, I do have like a particular game pack that is from 1991 or like early 92, somewhere within that pitch. Probably about as old as like the Super Nintendo actively kind of is. It's just within the pitch. You wouldn't think that that would have determined like the damage within the game, but this seems strange that, screwing up like the block snake thing once would screw you out of being able to complete the puzzle for the rest of without dying. I mean, Nintendo doesn't normally do that, where if you screw up once, you just have to die and try again. I think it's just strange. I don't know what was going on there. There's some screwy stuff, but just within the pitch behind it. So, but yeah, there's two exits in here, and I didn't realize about the other one, so we are going to get both exits. I don't know if I do it in this particular episode, but it is some standard type fare just within the pitch. But yeah, just kind of within the concept. I mean, really, as far as these particular pitches kind of happen with it, so once again, the block snake can kill you, as I showed in the previous episode. It's just within the pitch. So the problem with this particular stage is just the fact that you don't want to die in one hit, but then at the same time, it's a lot tougher to get through the gap, which it pretty much Small Mario is like the only real pitch to have like an easy kind of affair of doing it. So if you only get one shot per stage to get through that gap, this is kind of the concept on top of that. It's just kind of... This leads to a lot of foolhardiness that goes along with it, so it's just kind of within the pitch behind it there. So I look after it just within the tone. Makes me question, if I, when the day within some eventual fair type comes within the pitch of me doing like Super Mario World, the Lost Levels, I just would kind of, this is what I'm talking about here with that gap here. So just, luckily it's not that tough to get in with Small Mario, but yeah, just me question with some of the ghost houses, because I would almost think whether or not I would want to spoil it for myself, because I did actually watch the playthrough of Super Mario World The Lost Levels way back in like 2015, 2016, some of the, maybe not 2015, 2018 somewhere, I don't know, it's been a while, probably since the 2010 since I watched that particular playthrough, but I look after it, I don't know if I would want to spoil it and just kind of know all the puzzles. It probably takes some, I think possibly the beauty of that particular game would be just the blind playthrough as far as particularly doing it, because it is basically like Super Mario World Part 2 as far as those pitches going to happen, at least in terms of like the most vanilla Mario ROM hack that you could get in terms of something that's the closest thing to this game. It's just within the tone behind it, but it really happens to be the appeal behind it. But yeah, and really, I would probably have to say, like I was saying before, the only thing I really didn't like about that game within the pitch behind is just the fact that you cannot get one-ups through kicking the enemies into the other ones. Takes that element out of it just to make it tougher. But other than that, it's basically like another classic. From what I remember, the boss fights are obviously the same because they had to do it that way, but just other than that, it's just state-of-the-art. So, that happens to be the fair, so... But yeah, so basically after this particular episode, I'm going to record some more gameplay, and I didn't say this in the previous episode because I had not acquired the game yet, but now you know that the game that I was talking about back in the summer of 2024 that I was going to do along with this game, which is not going to coincide that much with it because this game's almost over, but it was Metal Gear Solid, the VR mission. So this is in the pitch as far as that particular kind of goes, just looking after it. So we're going to fire up that game a lot more and just get towards the pitch. But yeah, just understand that there's enough of like a few extra breaths of gameplay and oomph in this particular game as far as those pitches can happen. There is, as you can see here, there's at least more of like probably a handful more stages. Bowser, the castle stage, and then you would have to say like the special world and some of those types of pitches. So there's probably about 10, 12 more stages to be able to get to it than the concept of this particular stuff. It's just within the pitch behind it, but. And really, this actual world is not too actual, like, much of like a haphazard one. It's not like, this game is not as like frustrating as like what it may sound. As long as you have like a basic Mario skill set, it's really not that terrible. Like, if you cannot get that far in, like, Super Mario 3 or something like that, yeah, this would probably give you some problems. But if you know, like, standard Super Mario 411 and some of those type of things, if you can at least get decently far in most of these, it's just more kind of this routine kind of fancy footwork within those pitches. Just the standard fare, just having, like, basic kind of commute with it. The same thing, I mean... Yeah, definitely. Like, if you would not be able to beat this game, it's probably not recommended for a lot of these, because, you know, I would say Super Metroid is probably tougher than this. A Link to the Past, more here and there. I mean, that one's more of a puzzle game, but more or less that's a tougher game. Definitely a more frustrating game. Some of those type of ones. Donkey Kong Country 2 is definitely tougher than this game, and same thing with Donkey Kong Country 3. You remember when I did those games years ago. They just pissed me off indefinitely, especially Donkey Kong 3. That one was just, I mean, I like that game, but I probably would not play it too frequently past, like, the beginning stages. Once you start getting to, like, the creepy castle one and like some of those type of stages, like the reverse control stage, it's just like, fuck it. I mean, it's fun to play as long as you're not intending to actually beat the game, unless you have someone that's actually like, hey, I want to watch you beat this and that type of stuff, like, show me the end of the game and the ending. Other than that, it's pretty relatively solid playthrough. I mean, in a casual sense, that's kind of the concept of those games. Donkey Kong Country, the first one, is probably the best game in terms like trying to beat the game, just catching up with it. I mean, that's how this game is. This is a game that you can play beginning to end and beat the game and just say, hey, you can. It doesn't matter. Like, this is a game. Like, if the footage got deleted, I mean, I wouldn't want it to get deleted when I'm doing, like, a walkthrough of it, but if it were to get deleted later, it's not really that much of a bother. Like, when I beat this game back in, like, the year 2000 or 2001, I did lose my save file from those days, but it's not that much of a deal just because it doesn't really save, like, the records or anything like that. It's just beat all 96 exits again. It's just kind of within a pitch. It's not really that much of a deal. But there are other ones, you know, there's certain games that you just don't want to do again, and if you do, this is kind of the concept that it's just something that's just going to be some toil, but this is pretty straightforward. Donkey Kong Country 1 is pretty straightforward. Those are both two classics that you just play over and over, and just haphazardly you play, they get deleted, you get another copy of the game, the battery pack gets... Like, you have to replace the battery pack, some of those stuff. It's just within the concept of it, but yeah, I just would have to say good stuff. So, I really did think about doing Booger Man. I mean, I realize that that's kind of an awkward type one. I mean, that's made appearances on, like, acidic roots and some of that type of stuff, but it just makes me question. I mean, it would be some standard fare to get to that game. I would question just about it, because I have, like, a decent kind of somewhat knowledge of that game, but I just would question what the fare about it would be as far as trying to actually complete that game from wall to wall as far as those pitches can happen. I mean, I think I like the concept of just screwing around with that game in terms of just, like, frivolity and just nonsensical type stuff when I need it for jokes and stuff, but it just, I don't know, that's a game that I originally wanted to do, like, streams with, just kind of do, like, some standard streams. Back in the day, I had plans for that as far as that particular type fare, but it's just, eat Taco Bell, some of that type of good stuff with it, but it doesn't make that much sense. But yeah, I need Yoshi for this. That's the concept. One of these next stages, I want to say that I did one more stage in this episode. I'm not really sure as to what full bound kind of happens, but it's trying to get the cape, and I think basically I lose these items probably within, like, the first 15 or 20 seconds of playing the stage, so it's just kind of, well, at least we're getting stocked up here. That just kind of happens to be the pit. Yeah, that we didn't beat that stage. I forgot. I was wondering what the concept of that particularly kind of was. So, yeah, there's at least... So after this particular stage, I'd say that probably sums up the episode, and then you just would have to say and stuff that, you know, there will be one more stage in the castle, and then from there it just would be fighting Bowser and some of those type of pitches just with the tone behind it. But, but then there's also the secret, or there's also the back door to get to as far as those pitches can happen. Just being able to, just the back door, just within the pitches. I mean, I would look after it like I'm probably not going to beat the game using like the backdoor within those particular type pitches, but I just would have to say just getting towards it, and then I'll probably beat the game and then do special land as far as those pitches can happen, which should pretty much result in about 6 or 7, maybe 8 more episodes. So just to say, this episode 23, probably getting to at least episode 29, 30, 31, somewhere in there. I mean, it's supposed to be like that replete kind of package, which I think is the tone behind it. So that's the concept. So basically, all the rest of this episode is going to be is just getting to like the save point, doing like the ghost house to get to the save point, and then that should take care of it. The standard repetition, you know the drill at this stage. So this would be a good point to just go stock up on some goodies, heat up like some pasta in the microwave or something like that, or like get to the concept of just figuring out getting some snacks out of the fridge, some of that type, or just getting ready for part 24 as far as those pitches kind of happen. Good type tone. So yeah, there's still a decent enough life left in this game as far as those pitches kind of happen. Also, check out the Metal Gear Solid VR missions playlist. That's got some good stuff in there. That's going to be more standard shenanigans, just in a PlayStation more format. I mean, that just, and that the thing about that game is just the covert type stuff that goes along with it. I mean, I could do the weapons run. If you're wondering what's going to happen with that, it's just basically like James Bond type stuff, just and not getting caught, which is pretty awesome to get like a whole game or at least 100 missions based upon that concept of this having to actually be some sort of espionage type dude within the pitch. And I just question, I mean, I don't think that later Metal Gear Solid games kind of did that as full bound. I mean, just having like a whole game. I mean, I think there was like a Metal Gear Solid Substance or something that did something within that format, but I don't really know as full bound. But at least the VR missions really nailed that particular concept. But I'm at least going to do the sneak missions within those tones, like I was saying. But yeah, so just subscribe for more fun as far as these pitches can happen. Stay tuned for some more of this than the Metal Gear Solid stuff. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful night here.